Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with the bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So we're doing one of my favorite trips today. We're just flat out doing dark romance for you guys. So,
Too bad we can turn our screen like black right when you said that.
I mean, we could do like the 2 thumbs up and have fireworks and then it goes black.
Oh, it does!
Yeah. It doesn't like your 2 thumbs. Well, that's just rude.
Oh, it's hurtful.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
All right, so what do you want to tell me before we get started?
Well, hit that subscribe button so you can always know about our videos. I think that's also the notification button as well. But yeah.
Okay.
Hang out with us. Get some good book recs.
Yeah. All right, so let's just talk about the dark stuff. So this isn't any particular trope within dark. This is just dark for you guys. And remember, dark is always subjective. Things that I find dark, you might find pitch black. Things that you find dark, I might find gray, or vice versa. So just keep that in mind and check all your triggers before you go into dark romance.
Yeah.
All right. You ready to get started?
I feel like it should go without saying that anytime you're looking for book recs, if you believe that you have triggers, because sometimes things like cancer can be something that would be something you don't want to read about. So you should just always make sure you make good choices for yourself and be aware of that.
Be an adult and be a responsible reader and check your triggers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because reading should be fun and enjoyable.
Always. And we don't know what people's triggers are. I have a weird one. So, I mean, and it rarely ever comes up.
A lot.
I know. I just have that one that you know. It's just the unaliving of themselves is hard for me to read if something like that happens. So,
yeah.
Okay. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first book that I have to talk about in our dark romance video is Beautiful Fiend by Lola King. This is book 1 in her North Shore series. I think I've read books 1 and book 4, and I'm waiting for the audio to come out in February for book 2. Go figure. I'm all over the board with these. But this is about Billy and Caden. The North Shore series is about gangs. It's not mafia, it's gangs. And so you have pretty hardened heroines and heroes as well. And so this book starts out when Billy is young. She is in her father's gang, and Caden is a part of his gang, and they're 2 rival gangs. And he corners her one day with his buddies, and he forces her to go down on him. So there is some definite non-con and dub-con in this book. And he records it. And then a couple of years later, he uses that video to blackmail her, because if her family found out, she would be killed because she was with the enemy, whether it was consensual or not. And so he uses that to blackmail her and into becoming like a drug mule for him, for his family. But it eventually rolls into a romance. But I like her North Shore series. The first book, it took me a hot minute to get into, but once I did and I understood the world, then I was like, oh, okay. And by the first book, I mean the 4th book, because that was the first one I read. So what you got?
So I have Mississippi King by Celia Aaron.
Okay.
This is Arabelle and Benton. So Arabelle is a cop, like detective in the town, and Benton's dad is just been murdered at the law office. And so Arabelle shows up to investigate what's going on, and we just go kind of Benton looks really suspicious. Let's just put it out there. He looks very suspicious, as do some other people, and more people keep ending up murdered. And Arabelle is determined to solve whatever is going on, even though it's putting her own life at risk. And she is also a single mom, so she has a little kiddo to think about as well. But she is determined to get to the bottom of this case, even though others are determined to keep her and Benton from finding out what really happened.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. So
it's more of a gray dark, probably, for most people.
Yeah.
But there is quite a bit of, unaliving. I said the N word.
Yeah, it should be okay. It's just if we say it over and over again, we might be in trouble.
Okay.
All right, we're not that big. We're not big enough yet. So we can get away with it a little bit longer. All right. So the next book that I have is a duet, and this is the first book is The Tithing. The second book's The Penitent, but The Tithing by Natasha Knight and A. Zavarelli. This takes place in their IVI world. I need to switch myself over. This takes place in their IVI world. It's their secret society world that they have. But this one is a little bit more paranormal as well. This is about Willow and Asriel. And Willow is a descendant of all of these witches. This takes place kind of in, I think it's in New Orleans. And when she gets to be a certain age, the men of Asriel's family, one of them, the oldest, which is Asriel, they've been doing this for generations, will come and choose a wife out of her and her sisters. So out of these girls and their sisters in this one family. And they're looking for one that has the mark. There's like a mark on them. And it's like, I think it can be in a couple of different locations, but they're looking for a specific mark on them. And this season, just like when you're a debutante in the town or the town, this season, Willow was chosen as the penitent. So she is chosen to be Asriel's bride, basically. And they both have flashbacks, especially Asriel is having flashbacks and dreams about his ancestor and when this all started. And he takes Willow, he marries her. She doesn't have a choice in the matter. But what we find out is within the first year of marriage, for all of these men that have taken a woman from this situation since the beginning started, that the girls do not last the year. They die within the year. And what they don't know, but we do at the very beginning of this book, is that they die at the hands of their husbands. So what is that about and what's going on? It's very dark. It's very, I mean, it just kind of sucks you in and doesn't let you go. So, I mean, definitely check triggers on it. But yeah, I love Natasha Knight. She is a sweetheart. Love her. I cannot wait to see her next month.
All right.
Okay.
So next, I have Alone with You by Ali Martinez. So this is a thriller dark romance. So we have kind of that aspect happening here as well. So we have Gwen and Truett, and Gwen recently buys this diner. She's kind of trying to start over a little bit, and she's buying this diner and she's determined to turn it around. Well, Truett is basically you could call him a shut-in, and he forces himself to walk down the street to the diner once a week for the sake of his daughter. And his daughter is little. And so he walks down to this diner and he finds it closed. So you could imagine this kind of sends him in a tailspin, because this is like part of his routine and the one thing that he's keeping in his life that is somewhat of a normal activity. And he kind of has this freak out, and Gwen is like, wait, Truett, what is happening? And we find out the two of them used to know each other quite well. And from there, we kind of get the thriller romance happening. And I really cannot say anything else because it'll give it away. But I will say this does have some dark elements to it. And it is tragic. It is emotional. It is really, really good. And it's hard to talk about. I don't want to give anything away. So that wraps it up. What I'm going to say about it, I guess.
Works for me. Okay. All right.
It was supposed to be on my top 24.
But you wanted to include more than 24.
I don't know what happened. I don't know why it wasn't on there. When I realized it wasn't, I was like, what happened? And then I spiraled very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We need to redo that video.
No, not until we do a 25 of 25. Okay. So that's getting kind of big too. That's 50 books. That video was an hour. All right. The next book I have is a new release that came out just at the end of the year, and I was so excited for that. And that is The Darkness We Hide by Bryn Ford. Now, Bryn Ford does dark very, very well. This is actually a dystopian society, but oh, so good. So this is about Gemma and Oz. It does end on a cliffhanger, and I talked with Bryn last week or so, and she said that the next book should be out. She's hoping by March at the latest. It might be out a little bit sooner. But this is Gemma and Oz. In this world, if you are a felon, if you are someone who commits like harm to other people, then you're sent to go live basically it's the Mojave Desert. We've put a big old wall around the Mojave Desert and included Vegas as well. And you go to lawless land. That's what it's called. And that's, you are no longer a citizen of the United States, and that's where you go. So when this book starts out, we see Gemma. She has been violated by 4 different men in the past, and now she is getting her revenge. She has 3 of the 4 at a home where she is live streaming the unaliving of those guys. And she's doing this because she knows that she'll be taken and she'll be put into lawless land, which is where she'll find the 4th guy. She knows that she's giving up her life. This is basically a suicide mission, but she's so distraught, like she's so broken from all of this, that this is how she's going to do it. And so when she gets put out into lawless land, it's very, like, I was just so into the whole, like, how does this dystopian society work? How does this work? The whole process of them she has to go through like a center where they get her ready to put her out there with a whole bunch of other people, and how that whole thing works. It was so good. But when she gets out into lawless land, she sees the guy. Like, miraculously, she sees the guy. But Oz shows up all clad in black leather on his motorcycle, and he takes her. So then she's ticked. But good. Yes. Okay. Next.
All right. Next, I have Hope Rising by Vanessa Sheets. So this is about Grace. Grace is abducted. And when she's abducted, she does not know it yet, but she is actually pregnant. So while she's being held captive, she gives birth to a little girl. And she has now been held captive for several years. Her daughter just turns 3, and she realizes she has got to get them out of there. Like, this is just, it's not, like, she's just at her breaking point. Like, she has to get her and her daughter out of this situation. And at the same time, when she's coming to this realization, they get a new neighbor. So they live kind of, it sounds like, out in the middle of nowhere. And there's this rundown house that somebody happens to buy nearby. And she decides this is her one and only chance to get out of this situation. So she does. And Declan becomes like the hero to them because he is able to get her away from where she's been trapped. And so a lot of this book focuses on her healing. Declan is also a pretty broken man as well. And so the 2 of them have to try and heal together from all the things that have happened. But that captor, the guy who's holding her, he's still out there.
My next book that I have is Brutal Savage, and this is by Lillian Harris. This is the 2nd book in a series, but they're all interconnected standalones in the same world, and we see a couple of other characters from the first book, but you can still just read them. The first book is good too, but you can just read them as a standalone. But this is about Ilara and Tynan. Ilara is on the run. We find out at the beginning what's going on, but she is on the run. She's in hiding, and she goes to this town where she becomes a school teacher. She is a school teacher, but she goes and she teaches school. She's got the fake name and the whole 9. And then she has a little boy in her class whose parents died the year before. And I think he's like 5 or 6. Like, we're talking kindergarten, 1st grade teacher. She's she's got the little ones. So she's got this little boy in her class whose parents died a year before in a car accident, and he doesn't talk. And he's very closed off, but they have a little bit of a connection, and she's able to get him to, sit and eat her popcorn with her when they're watching a movie in class and that kind of stuff. So they do have a connection. So that little boy is actually being taken care of by his cousin, who is our hero, who's Tynan. He has custody of this little boy, and he's doing everything he can to get him to talk again. And the kid just will not talk. But he sees the way that our heroine, Ilara, is with him at school, and he falls for her. Because there is this soft spot, because he can see that the little boy is opening up to her, and he knows there's something different there with her. And also behind the scenes, his father is pushing him to get married to, take over the mafia. And so, there's that. So he may or may not force her to marry him, which is like the only way to get married. So what's your next book? Yeah.
Okay. My next book is a trilogy.
Okay.
That we have talked about before, but we're going to talk about it again.
Okay.
And hold on while I get my forklift ready.
Uh-huh.
So it is the Frozen Fate trilogy by Pam Godwin. So I'm going to set these down and just hold this one. So don't be intimidated by how big these are. They're actually really, really good books, and you will be amazed at how fast you can get through them. There's also audio. There's audio for the first two, right? And the third one's coming in March.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
That is correct.
So Frankie is married. And perhaps the most perplexing thing about this entire series is that Frankie is married to the wealthiest man in Alaska, but she still insists on working. She could stay home and read. No. Anyway, so Frankie and her husband kind of get in this little bit of a fight, and she ends up getting kidnapped from her home. And he believes that she's taken off and left him. And she is hopeful that he is looking for her. And she is taken to, I almost want to call it like the North Pole, but it's not, like up to the Arctic Circle.
There you go.
And the guy has got it figured out. He has like a whole system up there. So they have heat, they have food, they have the basic necessities for the most part. And he also has 3 boys that he calls his boys, but they're men. They're younger, but they're still men. And so it's the 5 of them up there. And I really can't say much else because it'll give things away, but she's being held there. She's got to try and figure out how to get out. But how do you leave the Arctic Circle and not freeze to death? And things are just not as they seem. Just leave it at that. I don't know if Jessica wants to add anything to it or not, but
it's just that you can't predict anything. It's twists and turns, and I'm one that can predict, and it was very hard to predict it. Yeah, I mean,
very
got
good.
a snow machine, but the snow machine's only going to get you so far.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Nope, I wouldn't be hiking out there in the middle of winter. That's cold.
Mm-hmm.
Nipples would freeze off. Okay. My last rec for our dark is Kelling Emma by Annie Wilde. So this is about our hero who is Luca. He is a hitman and he is really good at his job. He'll even tell you so. And he's a little more unhinged than most hitmen because apparently there's a sliding scale. And and I just lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. He's been hired to kill Emma. Emma's going through a divorce. And her husband has hired him to kill her, which is a common theme in this series. And this is like, I think the second one is not technically a series. They're all interconnected standalones, but it's all in the same world. But yeah, her husband's hired someone to kill her. And that's him. So he goes to do it, and he's been watching her for quite a while. And he's very intrigued by her. She makes him feel things, and he doesn't have feelings. And so he has 35 days to kill her. And he decides that instead of killing her, he's going to take her and keep her captive, but he'll probably kill her at the end of the 35 days. Don't worry, he'll get his money. But lo and behold, she finds out that he's got 35 days, but she's got like 34 days till her divorce, or 34 days or 35 days till her divorce. And he has to like do it before the divorce is over, which then this just ends up being revenge on the husband, and I'm here for it. So, you know, who doesn't want a grumpy guy, an unfeeling, crazy psychopath, unless you're in the room?
All right.
So, okay.
Was that your last one?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my last one. This is The Wild Man by Alex Grayson. This is a favorite of Jessica's. So
it is.
I was feeling like I was going way back for this one, but it was just back to like early summer that I read it. I think I read it at the end of May, beginning of June. So I guess that was back in spring, technically. Anyway, so we have Everly. Everly has heard tales of this wild man who lives out in this like foresty, jungly type area, and that he's been out there since he was 5. And so she decides she is going to figure out where he is. She thinks she kind of has an idea, and she's going to go find him. And this is going to be quite the journalistic piece that she's going to be able to write about. So she sets off looking for him. And guess what? She finds him, but he also finds her, and he grabs her and declares that she is mine. And from there, we have a wild story of a man who has really no social ideas of how society works. He's been raised like by himself out in the woods. So all of his instincts are very primal, very animalistic. behaviors from him. So it is definitely one you need to check triggers on. Not that all of them aren't, but there are some things in here that happen that might be too unsettling for some people, depending on where you're at in your reading.
Yep.
But yeah, quite interesting book.
I liked it. Okay.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I loved it.
Well, I know you did. Never mind. I'm
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
What is wrong with me?
On
Anyway.
my top of the year. Okay. All right. So there you guys go. There are 10 more dark romances for you.
Yes, all compiled in one video just for you.
Yep. Yay,
But
you.
always check our 1 minute book recs because you'll get the best variety there. But we know the trope videos are always really valued when you're a mood reader or specifically like that you just prefer a particular trope over the other.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us. And always keep an eye out on our channel. You can hit that notification button so you know when new videos come because we do have lots of extra videos headed your way.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.